Welcome back to Monday Morning Straight Facts. Please like, share, and subscribe. The Semenyo deal is close. Big updates to bring you from David Ornstein, Fabrizio Romano, and Ben Jacobs. We're looking back at an epic weekend of Premier League football. Aston Villa winning 7 in a row. Arsenal go top for Christmas. Erling Haaland and the Blue Sharks are closing in. Liverpool beating 9 men. Spurs, who were the better team. Bad news about Isak in that game, though. Today reported his leg has been broken. So loads to go through, loads to talk about. I'm joined by George. I think Jamie will be joining us very soon as well. But if you haven't done so already, make sure you've hit the like button, make sure you have subscribed, and make sure that bell notification button is hit as well. But Jules, how are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, man. No do-rag today, as we can see. I thought I'd bring the festive spirit. Got the hat on. Week of Christmas is the only thing I can celebrate at this moment in time. But yeah, you know, we're here regardless.
I hear you, man. I hear you. And yeah, it was a crazy weekend. Obviously, you joined me. Very, very kind of you to join me for my 40th birthday party on Friday. And if I'm being honest, from that moment until this morning when I woke up, just felt like a whirlwind of a weekend. I actually don't remember going live after the Chelsea-Newcastle game. I was still drunk. So I watched it back today. I went, I don't remember any of it. Like, not a dicky bird of the show do I remember. So, yeah, crazy weekend. And
at least you know you can do a show like that and not have to watch it back and worry. Like, there was nothing crazy said. It was just like, oh, do you know what? I still managed to do a good show. Like,
you know what it is for me? Like, I never worry about those things because I know myself. Yeah. It's like, I know I'm never saying that mad, you know what I mean? But yeah, it was a good one. Although when I had the mic in my hand on Friday, I see certain people worrying. What do you think I was going to say? I got a good Tommy Robinson joke in there that landed in the right way. And that'll make the audience go, what do you mean? What do you mean? If you weren't there, you'll never know. If you weren't there, you'll never know. But it was a good one, trust me. That's not drunk, Terry. That's old age. There was a little bit of old age in there. I'm not going to lie. Thank you to everyone who's joined us. Thank you to everyone that came over from the United Stand this morning, where I hosted in the stead of Mark. But look, I wanted to start off a little bit with Tottenham, really, because it was the weirdest game on Saturday, mate. Yeah, I know you lost, which is disappointing, but I felt you were the better team, even with 10 men, even with 9 men. Romero getting himself sent off was maybe one of the most stupid things I've ever seen in my life. Mm-hmm. Not too dissimilar from Xavi Simons. I've no idea. Oh, here he is.
Hello.
Clark Kent this morning.
I know, yeah. I'm back in the homeland today, so I apologise. I'm a bit late. Apologise, chat. Apologise, lads.
No worries. Back in the Emerald Isle, wearing green.
I might as well, you know. I have my engagement party tonight, so look forward to it.
Nice, mate. Nice. Congrats, man. Congrats. Have a good one. But yeah, a weird one for Spurs because it wasn't bad, but you didn't win. Players getting sent off, but still better. Could have equalized near the end. It was a weird game.
Yeah, really weird game, man. Like, I would say, like you said, I'd describe the game as it wasn't eventful or like exciting from the neutral, but from a Tottenham perspective, I felt like we were the better team for large periods, like especially the first before Xavi Simons got sent off. Definitely, I felt like we had control of the game. We were sort of Liverpool were just letting us play in front of them. We were given the space to try and break them down. But Liverpool were quite solid at the back. Only a few slight mistakes and slight chances that they were giving up. But I think, look, the game, it played out sort of how I expected it. You know, Liverpool they didn't press the trigger too much and try to take the game to us. They just took their chances when they can. They got their first goal, gave them a little bit of a boost and gave them that comfortability to know now we've got the lead. We can let Spurs bring the game to us. And that's sort of just how it played. We started to open up. They found the chance. The Ekitike goal. Some people, I don't know, this game just all over social media is just littered by the referee decisions because I know some people were complaining about the Ekitike goal, you know, how he pushed into Romero's back. Should have been a penalty because there was a few weeks ago when Spurs, on the other hand, when Romero scored a goal, there was a slight push that had us have a disallowed goal. So I suppose that decision was one that caused some problems. Me personally, I didn't think it was a foul. I thought you got to be stronger there. You are the defender, got to do better. It's just that's how it's going to be inside the box. You're going to be pushing and throwing with the attackers, and if you're going to fall on the floor the way he did, you can't then go and get a red card for violent conduct later on in the game. I think it just does the stupid things, because at one moment you're going to dive on the floor when someone's pushing you, and then at another moment you're going to be trying bullying guys, kicking them, and he was doing that all game, to be honest. Like he was doing the rough bully Liverpool players, and I felt like that again, this is one of my biggest problems with watching Spurs right now. There's no clear tactic to break team down by playing football. We just went there to bully Liverpool. We were just throwing their players, kicking at them. We were just bullying, just being more physical than them. And yeah, like we rattled them to some extent in that point, and we didn't let them play too much football. But they just showed the technical quality was so much better than us that they didn't need to play so much football to score the goals. They just had to create a few chances and score those chances. The only bit when we did score is, like I've said too many times, we create moments of chaos in the opponent's penalty box. And then Richarlison, Mr. Captain Consolation himself, pops up with a goal. And it's like, this guy's got 8 Premier League goals this season, and I don't know how. I can't name you like one goal and think like, yeah, this is a solid goal. He's scoring goals somehow. And again, doing the things like, you score one goal, you'd think you go pick the ball up, run to the halfway line, let's get back to 2-2. He's too busy getting into Boslai's face, sitting on top of Ekitike. He's trying to rattle them. And it's like, we've got all the wrong things on our mind after scoring a goal. And yeah, look, as much as there was some like positives in the way that we were playing, Liverpool were just rubbish. So I can't take anything from it. I'm still Frank out. The game went how I expected. So I'm generally not mad at the 2-1 because it could have been worse. And last year they had some rugby scorelines against us. So yeah, which is what it is, isn't it?
Obviously, from your point of view, Jamie, I mean, maybe a bittersweet victory in many ways with Alexander Isak. It's now reported that his leg's broken. And going to miss a good few months of football just after, his first real big moment in a Liverpool shirt. It was also strange after the game because we had maybe 4 or 5 Liverpool fans came on our show. There was very little hype. There's very little excitement. It felt a bit like a damp squib in many ways, although you've beaten, won a very big game.
Yeah. No, Yeah, my match reaction, and I was going to talk about it, I was more disappointed than anything else, because I think similar to what George is saying about, like, that's a poor Liverpool team and that's a poor Spurs team. So I think when you kind of come away in the way that obviously Spurs performed, and you can obviously they lost and some of the performances were poor, but I think with Liverpool, they obviously go 2-0 up, and we've seen it before with them. And when I was talking a little bit like leading up to the game, is all Spurs have to do is like put Liverpool under a little bit of pressure. And if they put Liverpool under pressure, we inevitably seem to just have this thing in us this season where we start to collapse. They get the first goal, and then with 9 men, like Liverpool are hanging on. They have no composure to hold onto the ball and just like use the space that has obviously been left there because they have 2 players sent off. And I think that's why I don't think Liverpool fans were unhappy with obviously the result. Like, we won at the end of the day, and Spurs, no matter the form that they're in at the minute, it's still a place they have to go and try to get 3 points. And it has been difficult at times. But I think it's more looking ahead. There's just concerns about like the way that we're playing right now. The injuries that we obviously have as well is pretty big. Like if Isak is going to be out for potentially the rest of the season, Salah's obviously away at AFCON. Gakpo's hopefully going to be back in the new year. Like, we're realistically, Ekitike, who at the minute he could probably only play 70 minutes of football, and then he looks absolutely knackered. And for whatever reason, I don't know, Slot just is out for it with Chiesa. He just does not rate him whatsoever. So there's a little bit of worries going forward, is that, are we going to play this diamond midfield or 5-man midfield? But I even in the first half, up until the red card, we actually don't look like we can really attack with this midfield. And that's a concern, because I think we do look a little bit more solid. But I think that just comes from, like, if you put, it's like defensive football. If you put 10 men behind the ball, obviously you're going to be a lot harder to break through. But like, you still need to have something going forward. You still need to be able to create. I think we're kind of relying on maybe getting to like the end of games, and then like obviously relying on a little bit of quality. Like the Isak finish was unbelievable, when he gets that chance to score. And then obviously Ekitike had a really good game against Brighton, and he kind of gets it over the line, gets an early goal, and we go on and win that game. But performance-wise, I think there's just a lot of concerns over Liverpool. I think we obviously we're undefeated in the last 6, and I think it's brilliant considering where we were, but we haven't played really any like really, really strong teams. Inter Milan away, I think, was a strong team, but this Spurs team on paper is a difficult game. But like, what was that? 5 wins in 2025. So like, it's not like it's been a really difficult place to go for a lot of teams this year. So I think just going forward, there are a lot of concerns with the Liverpool team. But listen, I think right now Slot is obviously trying to get back to a place where the team has confidence, where we can maybe make the steps in the right direction to improve. But there were some positives I would take, right? I think that's it's a very negative side there, but positives I would take. I think Wirtz is starting to look a little bit better. Obviously got his first assist, which is great. Ekitike is starting to come into his own. I think defensively as well, I think Frimpong will be interested in this system if Bradley is going to be out. I thought he did well when he came on, and then Kirk as well. I think with the amount of space that we're going to have on the sides for 2 attack and wing backs, which we've obviously brought them in as, like, that can get up and down the pitch, I think it'll be interesting to see how we use them, and hopefully maybe we can start to use them a little bit more to show more attacking intent. But yeah, I think it's just there's still a lot of underlying issues, I think, with Liverpool, and that's why I think a lot of Liverpool fans are maybe disappointed, even though we won against Spurs.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think football fans are just not stupid anymore, and I think results-based analysis is almost dead unless it's, you know, a cup game and things like that, or if it's a one bad performance with a win in a handful of games. But as you say, even in this run of games you've been on, you look and watch most Liverpool fans' reactions. There isn't an excitement. There isn't I'm loving what I'm seeing. And it's those performances that create the confidence. On the Isak situation, obviously devastating for the player I trust what David Ornstein has said. It looks like a leg break. Yeah. They're saying it could be 2 to 3 months because it doesn't look like there wasn't an ankle dislocation. Hopefully there isn't any tendon or ligament damage. Often when a leg break happens, the bad ones where you sort of see the bone, it's often not the break that's the issue. It's often the ligaments and the tendon damage and this dislocation that creates the bigger problems. But just obviously bittersweet. I mean, I've had a lot of stick for this morning online because I posted this picture, and I'm asking this question about these tackles. I want to know why. And let me just preface this. This is not a dig at Spurs or Van der Ven. So Tottenham fans that are already been on my ex, what's he meant to do? Let him shoot. No one's making that suggestion. No one's having a go at your club. Why is it when strikers or attackers are taking shots, these types of lunging blocks are allowed? And we often see no contact made with the ball, players taken out, and now we've seen a leg break. Is it about time football starts to protect the players here in the same way they would in any other part of the pitch? For instance, if this isn't Isak shooting and it's Isak playing a through ball and Van der Ven dives in like that, scissors his standing leg and breaks his ankle, it's at least a foul, right? It's at least a foul. A lot of people go, what I meant to do, Terry, just let him shoot. No, but you could make that. So you're allowed to foul someone in the middle of the park, and I could just go, what you meant to do, just let him pass. The one thing I don't understand, it's one of those weird kind of unwritten rules in football why these challenges are allowed when players are taking shots. And now the goal went in, so you would never want it brought back for a penalty. But if that shot went wide, it also wouldn't have been a foul, which I just look at it and someone's now being hurt. They've had their leg broken because of it. And I don't blame Van der Ven because every defender does it. My question is, should they be allowed to do it? Should you be allowed to have that much force, which is a potential leg breaker, to get a block in? Should it not still be considered endangering an opponent?
I don't know. Do you know what it is, Terry? I feel like this would set a dangerous precedent for like again, we spoke about this game being over refereed because there were so many controversial decisions, and slowing down things. And I think when you look at those types of challenges, when you slow them right down, they look like bad challenges. But when you're just in the state of the game and you're playing, it's not a terrible challenge. Like, he caught him bad, and sometimes you are going to catch a player bad. But I think I even think back to Joelinton a couple of weeks ago when we played Newcastle. He done that like scissor challenge on Kudus where he had his legs wrapped around him. A lot of people going, red card, it's horrible. And it's like, well, if he'd actually broke his leg, yes, it probably would have been a red card. It was just a reckless challenge. I don't think they're dangerous. And that's why I think like there's a fine line. And even when we spoke like the Xavi one, is I think that there's reckless and then there's dangerous, isn't it? Some of these challenges are reckless and they probably shouldn't be challenges that you do, and you should control them. But I don't think they're dangerous as in that they actually intend to hurt the player. So that's why I would hold back and not say it's a red card, because although like it's not always about your intention, it's about what happens. But if you don't hurt the player and you didn't intend to, it can't be. And maybe if you do hurt the player and you didn't intend to, it can be a sticky situation at times. But I think in the Van de Ven situation, me personally, I wouldn't have gave it as a foul. I wouldn't have gave it as a red. I didn't think it was a terrible challenge. I just thought it was one of those challenges that, I suppose I'm a defender as well. So when I think about it, you're always going to make that. And it's tough, innit? Because you can't control yourself in that last ditch moment when you are trying to stop.
But that's the thing, isn't it? That word there, you can't control yourself. What Van de Ven did, I understand it. He's been caught out of position, mainly because Romero's given the ball away and Spurs were shifting. He's trying to get a block in. If he makes that challenge and he blocks that shot, deserves the credit. My only challenge is he doesn't block. If he gets the block on and then follows through, I think that's part of football. If you don't touch the ball and then you hit the player, that's when I look at it and go, now you would never want a penalty there as Liverpool because you scored. But if that shot's saved by the goalie, if it goes over the bar, there are numerous examples where they don't bring it back for the foul from Van de Ven. It's just sort of a weird grey area where fouls are not given. And I mean, I've been calling this out ever since Ashley Cole did it to Javier Hernandez back in 2011. So this isn't a new thing for me. I've never understood why they're not fouls. I don't know how you feel about it, Jamie, and maybe it's a little more emotive today because of the injury to Alexander Isak. But there seems to be a lot of these at the moment in the game.
Yeah, I think it's a difficult one because the reason those types of tackles happen where they go flying across is because it is a shot on goal effectively. So there's desperation in the tackle. To be honest, I don't mind defenders making tackles like that because they're obviously trying to, and it was the other way around. I'd want Van Dijk is often given out to because he doesn't go flying across to make those types of tackles. You know what I mean? He just lets someone shoot and he'll try and close it down with his feet and stand on and stand up. But like he's obviously trying to block a goal, and I think that's what I'd want to see from my defenders. But to be honest, I just don't want to see refs re-refereeing the game more and more. Do you know what I mean? If we start to try to call in like extra decisions, we're going to have VAR looking at like that. We're going to have VAR looking at offsides. We're going to have VAR looking at like red cards. Like even the Xavi Simons one, I didn't actually think it was a red card. And I got a lot of criticism for it online when I said that. The reason being was, I think what happened was Van Dijk was trying to make a step to the right. Well, he was going to make a step to the right and then change his decision because of the way Simons was running. So then Simons obviously tried to counteract that. And the way Van Dijk obviously moved left to go and kick the ball with his right foot, Simons just, he was striding, trying to make a run. It wasn't an actual challenge. So I think, yes, it would have been a sore with Van Dijk, but I don't think there was like any, similar to what you were saying, George, there about like intent to actually danger someone or just like the response of a tackle. It's just sometimes that it happens that way. But he basically just caught him on the back of the leg. And I think Van Dijk was pretty, like, it was obviously a sore one, but he got up pretty quickly from it. And I think that's one of the decisions where like the referee in that case gives a yellow card because he sees it as like, it's just like, it's not he didn't see like any aggression towards Van Dijk. It was just a tackle that was like a bad step. But obviously VAR, when they come into it and they look at it and they slow it down and they put it right on the back of his leg, it obviously looks really bad. And then the whole consensus about it is, and I'm sure the chat will probably agree that it was a red card. But I think it's one of them where I don't know. I think
you know what's crazy though, Jamie. I'm sure you've seen it because obviously the discourse on Twitter has been crazy. There's about 4 examples of Van Dijk doing that challenge in the last year or two.
Yeah,
he's never once been carded for it, and it's just like
Solanke last year. That was the one that was brought up. I've seen a lot, and like I was the same last year when that happened. I didn't want Van Dijk to get a red card. So my idea would be like have the same precedent when it's like against your players. Do you know what I mean? So like I had a Liverpool fan saying you're not a Liverpool fan. I'm like, but like take your bias out of it. It's like take your bias out of it and judge the call based on what you actually see.
I didn't want to see Xavi Simons sent off because I want to see Liverpool lose, but I thought it was a stonewall red because my interpretation was that was done on purpose. And the reason I think it's done on purpose is because I've got children and a dog. And I've walked down my hallway when it's dark and didn't know my dog was laying there. And as my foot is about to put all my weight on my dog, I'm able to pull my foot away. I nearly fall over and break my neck, but I don't want to hurt my dog. I've walked in the living room. You've done this with your kids, Jordan. They get under your feet and you nearly break your neck trying to not stand on them. When I see a footballer, I don't care whether they're trying to put their foot down, get over a player. When I see their studs hit the back of the calves that way, there was something. Did you see what McLean did this weekend?
Yeah.
The way he raked his foot over someone's head. It doesn't matter if you've played football, you just know when someone does something on purpose because it's too convenient where you've hit them, how you've hit them. Where I feel sorry for Xavi Simons, it was very similar to what Van Dijk did to Solanke last season. And I do think Van Dijk gets away with so many red card offences. I've seen him smash his shoulder through people's jaws. I've seen 4 or 5 leg-breaking challenges, and he's a big geezer as well. I've seen it in the Champions League. I've seen it in the Premier League against Everton 2 seasons ago, where it hits the shin, goes right down to the ankle, and nothing happens. And that's where I can understand people calling out the inconsistency. But I actually thought both red cards in the game were correct. But I look at the situation with Van de Ven is interesting. I actually get what people are saying where they go, maybe it's not a red card. I'm not even saying it should be a red card offense. I just don't understand why. If I try and pass, if I'm in the center of the pitch and I pass the ball and Van de Ven does that, it's penalty. I don't understand how if Isak's in the box, because some people go, oh, higher threshold in the box. Cool. If Isak's passing the ball there in the box and that challenge happens, it's the penalty. What I don't understand is why if you get off a shot and then you're taken out, it's not a foul. That's the bit that makes zero sense to me in that example, because you've still been fouled after. Now, people go, oh, no, he completed the shot. Well, what if your pass is completed? It's still a foul. I just need PGMOL to make me understand why, when I attempt to make a block, if I don't touch the ball and I take a player out, but he's had a shot on goal, it's not a foul. I want to know why in that particular instance, because in every other scenario, it's a foul.
It's one of them, though, isn't it? With the they allow the attack and play to flow type thing. You know, if you get a shot away, then that's your advantage. That's what they would say. So they don't look at it as they won't retrospectively go back and give penalties, or give like red cards in those instances. It's just something that's always been that way. But maybe I understand where you're coming from in terms of maybe like endangerment to a player's welfare. I think it's just, I don't know. I think he gets the shot away, it's a goal, and it's just one of those where he comes flying across on the tackle. I'm more. With the way referees are now, I think if we were to get into decisions where we're giving them more,
adding too many rules in it,
yeah.
make our jobs too hard.
If we're continuously giving them more decisions to make, more decisions for VAR to make, I think we're just gonna go to a place where like football is just, even now, with like, it's actually getting so boring, like where you get a goal is given and like you're sitting there and you celebrate and then the moment is like taken away, or even like even if it's given, the moment is essentially taken away because you're there waiting on a big screen that comes up and it's like, oh, right. And I just don't see bored.
I do get that side of it and I understand it. I suppose for me, I look at it though, and I'm just talking about the consistency here, because you can be a midfielder that makes a clean tackle in the middle of the pitch, win the ball, and then your trailing leg does what Van de Ven does, and you can be sent off. But yet you can block a shot in the box, miss the block, take the player out, and it's not a foul. And for me, it's a case of, well, if you can win the ball and still commit a foul in the middle of the pitch, how can you fail in a block attempt, take a player out, and not commit a foul? That for me is just, you've either got to allow both or neither. So I just want more consistency in there because it just feels.
Do you think a lot of it? Do you think a lot of it
That's
is though when they score, like say if they score, they get up off the tackle, they're off celebrating. So like the ref just, in most cases, the referee just is like, I'm not going to obviously pull it back.
But that's also. I mean, again, that's players as well. Because again, when Van Dijk stays,
see you later.
Well, I knew Isak was in trouble because two things. You can always tell when a player is really injured. When you're really hurt, you don't roll around. I don't know if you boys have ever really. I snapped my knee once fighting. Guy checked it brilliantly, and my knee just went in. And I remember, I've got this vivid memory of it. The way I just laid there, I didn't want to move.
Yeah. When I fractured my foot, I was there, just didn't move for about 5 minutes.
You can't move. That's why, again, for me, this is where referees, you can tell they were geeks and didn't play sport. Because when a player gets fouled and he rolls 10 times, what I would do is give the foul, but I'd book the prick for rolling. Because you don't, when I see football players fall over and they arch their back like they're in a porno movie, it's like, nobody falls like that, you dickhead. No one goes down like that. Like when I see players fall on the foot and I roll around when they get a little tap on the shoulder, it's like, no, I used to get in the ring. Like people can I've seen people get punched 10 times straight in the face and still stand there. That wouldn't make you drop. I'd still just book them all for simulating and go, you fucking pananis, bro. Get up, you pananis. I heard that word in years. I used to love that word when I was a kid. Terry, have you gone through VVD's back catalogue of dangerous tackles? And no, I agree. I think Van Dijk, because we also know this exists in football. Some people just get away with things more than others. For instance, Semenyo grabbed the low round the throat. Nothing happened. I think you boys would both agree with me. If Casemiro grabs somebody around the throat, if Xhaka grabs somebody around the throat, if Romero grabs somebody around the throat, red. They're just going to, there's a reputation thing. Bruno gets it because he moans a lot. But again, actually start watching other players. He doesn't moan any more than the average bear. It's just the media talks about his moaning. So we all go, oh, he moans a lot. Romero probably moans as much as any player I've seen in the whole world. But maybe because he's a bit better looking, doesn't look a rat. Nobody cares so much. There are reputations that precede people in football. There's no...
I feel like his red he actually got, or the second yellow he got again was, although it was a second yellow, I felt like with a lot of other players, the ref would have just forgot about it and brushed it. Like, because it was generally just a minor little coming together. I think a lot of players wouldn't have got that second yellow because it was Romero and he was doing stupidness the whole game. I think that was just
the ref a lot though, wasn't he? Like he was.
Yeah, that was it. He kept arguing with the ref the whole game. I thought the ref thought, "Oh fuck this, you're going off. Like I've had enough.
Get rid of him."
Get rid of him, and you just gave him a reason to. Because I think otherwise, any other player would just brush that. He would have been like,
I agree. But even with Bruno, I think Bruno gets away with a lot of dissent yellow cards because he's got a reason to talk to the ref because he's the captain, right? And that's where Romero also gets away with it. Because he's the captain, so it's, well, I'm allowed to come and talk to you. But no, I do agree. I think reputation in football precedes people, and some people get away with it, and some people don't get away. That's why one of the most shocking reds I ever saw, I couldn't believe it was given, was when Gerrard stamped on Ander Herrera. Because Gerrard was always a player for me in his career that used to get away with some of the most hideous tackles I've ever seen. But Gerrard was very likable. A lot of people liked him. Referees liked him. And I always remember listening to John Fashanu, who a lot of people didn't know was a footballer. They just thought he presented the original Gladiators. But he had the most amazing method of getting away with horrible tackles in an era where it was harder to get sent off. He had a research team at his clubs that would remind me of all the referees, their names, their wives' names, their kids, what their kids are doing. So he'd go up to John Smith before the game. Oh, John, how's Martha getting on now in her new job at the hairdresser she started? And how's your daughter? How's she getting on at uni? And how's your son doing with his football team? He'd like befriend them and be really lovely. And he said it always got in 2 or 3 nasty tackles in games where he wouldn't get booked or red cards. And I think some people do a brilliant job of building their relationships with refs. And I wouldn't be surprised if Van Dijk's done that. If Van Dijk's loved by the referees, because he has gotten away. But what he did to Anthony Gordon a couple of seasons ago, where he smashed him with the shoulder, I think every Liverpool fan, when they're honest, knows that was a blatant assault. The fact he got away with it was unbelievable. Unbelievable.
I'm not getting dragged into this. I think, yeah, listen.
That means you agree.
He just doesn't want to comment.
Yeah, I declined the comments. Now, players definitely do cultivate relationships with referees. You hear it. Even Carragher talked about it it's almost a game that you have to play with referees. You know what I mean? Like, get on their good side, and not in the case of like favoritism, but like just don't be a fucking pain in the arse. Because if you're a pain in the arse, and like Romero, I think, like with that reputation where he's kind of always at referees or he's always involved, then you're just making the game more difficult for a referee to obviously officiate. Do you know what I mean? And like if you're getting in their face, you're constantly irritating them. Then I don't think it's a privilege. I just think it's like human communication. It's a way of obviously managing the situation and keeping that relationship there.
No, I agree. But Steve here says the throat is a throat regardless of aggression. Hands shouldn't be there. No, we all agree. But we see this happen in other walks of life. You could have two different types of person. One wears a suit, got slick back hair, never been in trouble. Another guy wears a tracksuit and has a different kind of haircut. Could both commit the same crime. But the way they're looked at by society, by a jury, by a judge can be very different. This happens in football. Certain players will be more liked, more respected. Oh, he's not a violent guy. Oh, he's not a horrible person. He's got a really nice person. I mean, he can't have meant it. It was a moment of madness. It's okay. It's a misdemeanor. Where some players are looked at as more thuggish, more aggressive, more nasty, and they get away with it. I'll give you another great example. Alan Shearer was a dirty bastard, but he was a lovable dirty bastard. No one cared. He was looked at as, oh, Alan Shearer. He's a good guy. And there's only really ever been one completely clean, never horrible on a pitch to any one player, and that was Gary Lineker. And people don't realize he never got booked in his life for anything. And that's because that's why as well, like when you see most yellow cards, I didn't mean it shouldn't be, and I should, because most fouls don't even need to be committed. Most fouls are on purpose. At the end of the day, we've all played football. The super chat here says, what Delo did is worth a red. That was assault. Well, look, what Delo did, I agree, is wrong in football. But a bit like the block I've mentioned, it's an unwritten rule. Harry Kane was maybe the worst offender I've ever seen of that. When a player jumps, he goes underneath them and they land on their necks. The issue is there's no law in the game that makes it a foul. That being said, if I go in 2-footed and nearly break someone's leg and then they get up and strike me, they still get sent off. What happened before is irrelevant. Because actually when Casemiro grabbed Hughes round the neck, VAR didn't rewind it another 5 seconds, because before that Hughes grabbed him round the neck, and then if you fast forward another 5 seconds, they hugged it out. If you actually watch the whole incident, neither should have probably got sent off, or both. But there we go. This super chat here says, hi Terry, it's not context being applied to the Chelsea game, one of the toughest away grounds where all teams struggle to win. First half poor, yes. Great comeback second half. If that was United, you'd praise it. Yeah, okay. We can move on to the Chelsea game now, because
I was thinking, really, man, spoke about Chelsea. What's the other? There's no context to
it. The title. Chelsea failed to win again, and it's not been a good run for Chelsea. They were in a 6-pointer against Arsenal a few weeks ago, which they drew, where if they had won that game, there'd be 3 points off top. But since that game, they've played 5 matches in the Premier League. They've only won one of them against Everton. Very good comeback in the second half. I praised it, DJ, if you watch my match reaction at the weekend. And I think in the context of the game, it certainly deserves praise for that comeback. And the free kick from Reece James was excellent. Some of the defending from Reece James in the second half was great. But it is 1 win in 5 now for Chelsea, and a team that has seen the likes of an Aston Villa go clear of them in a title race and leave them behind in terms of sitting there with the most underperforming champions in the history of Premier League football, a bang average Man United, and a newly promoted Sunderland, with the Crystal Palace chasing them. And Chelsea fans, Chelsea Football Club cannot be happy with this. There must be a frustration to only have that 1 win in 5, where prior to that, it was 5 wins from 6, and they were looking very strong, and they were winning games, and there was talk of title pushes. What do you make of it, gents? Because, listen, I know Newcastle away is a very difficult game. No one's going to sit here and pretend that it's an easy game, but it's the context of all the matches, the draw against Bournemouth when they're in bad form, getting battered by Leeds, You know, the way they started against Arsenal, but kind of got the red card. What do you guys make of the situation with Chelsea and kind of falling behind the title race conversation?
I never thought they were in a title race. I think they're. I've been saying that since the start of the season. I just don't think they're a team that are at that level right now. I think they have really good players, but they're obviously just missing that. People keep on talking about experience, and maybe if they had about like I know Robert Sanchez has been good this season, but like maybe like an elite level keeper, I think a centre back and a striker is probably something that they need. But it's not even. I don't because I think like defensively, I think they had the most clean sheets or record most clean sheets in the Premier League going into the Newcastle game. I think they had 8 with Arsenal. And then goals wise, like they're still up there in terms of like scoring like the numbers of goals. So they are doing the right things. But I think game management they're really poor at, and understanding when they need to go full throttle or when they need to manage the game a little bit more. And I think we've seen that in the last like 5 games. But in saying that, I actually think we've seen exactly the way Chelsea will be. Newcastle away is a really tough place to go for any team. A lot of teams have struggled there over the years, especially when the crowd gets really up for it and they get like an early goal and it can collapse in on you. I think that's what we've seen in the first half. But the way this Chelsea team is, I think they actually, sometimes when games get a little bit crazy, I actually think they like it because they have like that energy and chaos about them where they can go toe to toe. But it's just like managing the situation is something that they don't seem to be able to do. And that obviously comes with experience. But the way this Chelsea, the running of Chelsea is set up now is that they don't want to buy that experience. They don't want to bring in players of that ilk because effectively you're buying players that you can't sell. And I think I said a few weeks ago on a live, I was like, Chelsea's priority isn't to win trophies, it's to make money. And I got a lot of criticism for it. But I think it comes from the fact of I'm not saying that they don't want to win trophies, because I think obviously they're a big club, they do want to win trophies. But the way they're buying players and the way they probably could have went out and got like an Osimhen or a Donnarumma. Instead, they bring in Garnacho and Gittins, who are good players in their own right, but they're not going to effectively take them to the next level to be able to compete with a Man City, a Chelsea, a Bayern Munich, because they're not at that level. And I think that's what we're seeing with them now. They just don't have that like ability to be able to manage games and take their club, who I think are in a good position probably right now, to the next level, because obviously it's been difficult after Abramovich left. But at the end of the day, this ownership want to make money. They're there to. It's a very business orientated football club right now, and the more young players that they bring in, the more they're able to sell, the more they're able to make money. And if they win trophies along the way, they'll absolutely be delighted with that. But I think the main thing for them is to obviously see a return on their investment, and that's just the way that they're being run.
Yeah, I think for me with Chelsea, very much performing where I expect them to perform. I think many people, like you said, had them in the title race, were just Chelsea fans. Don't think any rival fan would have looked at their team pre-season and ever judged them to be good enough to compete. I think they lack quality at the back, and that's where they're always going to have problems. That defensive line, they've got really good fullbacks, but the centre backs just lack the consistency and quality. You know, Fofana comes in every now and then, and I was trying to have this conversation with Don. He says he's an important player for them, but how important can a player be when he's only available 1 out of every 3 games when you're playing 2-3 times every 7 or 8 days? He can't be that important to you. So I feel like Chelsea just have a problem with their depth, where they have a lot of depth, just not a lot of quality in it. And they're going to be up and down because of that. They are ahead of now, giving them some credit. They're ahead of the rest, as in they're ahead of us, they're ahead of United, they're ahead of Newcastle. I think they're just better as a team and will provide more consistency. But when it comes to pushing on into that upper echelon of teams, where you're looking at now, it's Villa, and I still put Liverpool in there, City and Arsenal. Those teams can just maintain consistency. I think for Villa, they're obviously just got a really top manager that papers over some of the cracks that the team has, and Enzo Maresca does that at times. But I feel like he tries to be too similar to Pep, as in he tries to change his teams a lot, tries to do a lot of rotation. But I think that goes against them sometimes, because you just need to play the same players and build up that same consistency with the team. And that's where some of their biggest problems are. But it's still a good point. Like people said, it's still a very good point to go away to Newcastle and pick it up, to come from 2 goals down. You've got to give them the credit and the character to do that. But I think the bigger conversation is Newcastle. A lot of people are just ignoring how poor Newcastle have been this season. They're a point ahead of us. Whenever I've spoken to Newcastle fans, they seem really happy, which I'm really confused, because they've had a few years now with Eddie Howe, where obviously he got them out of the relegation zone, and everyone can appreciate what he's done for them as a club. But he's failed to consistently build on that year where he finished top 4. They've obviously just gone up, down. And right now, to start this season, they've been poor. Like, I know they've got some results. They're picking up points here and there. But if you actually look at their record a lot closely, a lot of the games where they're dropping points and losing, they're the team that go ahead in games. I've seen them go ahead in so many.
Yeah, I think they've dropped 13 plus points from winning positions in the Premier League this year.
Yeah, they've been awful. I see them go ahead and just drop points, and I don't know what it is with them. Again, quality is an issue, depth quality, because I think some of the signings they signed in the summer were poor. Now I know they tried to go on to better quality players and they got rejected a lot, but their recruitment has just got to be better. Like signing Elanga and so on just wasn't the type of players they needed for Champions League football, and to push on into the top 4. So I think Newcastle just need in this January to reinforce. Pardon?
But do you think it's time for a new manager? Like, do you know what? It's similar to remember when Mark Hughes came into Man City and he obviously got them, like, improved them with the money they spent, and then they brought in Mancini then to get them to that next level. Do you think it's kind of like that?
I think that's part of it. I do think now, I don't think he's been helped by the quality of players he brought in. It's not like they've brought in a quality above what they had last year. A lot of the players they sold and got rid of were replaced with players of lower quality or a similar quality, just less proven. But I do think that I've always said I think Eddie Howe's a good manager. He's a good manager to get a team up to that sort of top 5, top 6 level, but he's never going to push on to them being any higher. So I do probably think there is a new manager's probably needed to bring a new lease of life, but also someone who can potentially take them to challenge for the title, because they have the money, they have the financial backing. They just need a top quality manager to bring it all together.
Yeah, I think they were in a little bit of the FFP last these 3 years. Yeah. I think they're out of that now, aren't they? Like,
I think what we're seeing as well is reminiscent of 2 seasons ago where was it last season or 2 seasons ago they were in the Champions League? It was 2 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah. They're out. So, they were in, out, then they're back
in, out. Yeah, in, out. It's very similar to that season. It's 2 games a week. I think people underestimate how hard it is to play 2 games a week, both from a testing the strength of your squad. I think we're seeing that with Chelsea the same this year. They were able to completely rest their first team Conference League games so that they were able to be at full strength at the weekend. It's harder to do that in the Premier League when you're in the Champions League, because you basically have to play your strongest teams, but it means you have to rotate in the Prem and in the Champions League, and you test the strength in depth. It's also very hard for Newcastle from a mentality point of view, because as a club, as you said, the fans are just generally quite happy with it still. They're like no disrespect, George, it's like Tottenham. There's this element of, it's like, kind of just, I think probably even worse than Tottenham, just happy to be there. It's okay. We're fine. I mean, you've got Ash that comes on our shows as an example, who's like, I'd never, ever, ever sack Eddie Howe for what he's done, ever. He can stay forever. And I sort of feel that, I'm not saying they should just turn on the manager after a few bad results, but I think it's about a happy medium in these things and going, right, maybe do we need a more experienced manager, or just a new voice, a new person that can come in and take it to another level. Equally, though, they still have a very small income. They have a good first 11, but when you start to scrape the barrel and you start to rotate, players are not as good. They play more on the ball. So, for instance, Elanga has been nowhere near as effective at Newcastle thus far as he's been at Forest, because everybody attacked Forest and he had all that space to run into, where Newcastle hold the ball more because of the way Eddie Howe plays, meaning there's less room to run in behind. And I just think, I've also thought with Newcastle this year, though, that they've had 4 or 5 games where they really should have won on performance. And they've just, like them and Aston Villa, almost seem like the polar opposites this year. If you watch a lot of, Villa have won 7 games on the bounce. I didn't think many teams would win that many in a row this year.
10 on the bounce, I don't know.
No, all comps. In Prem, I'm talking in the Prem, 7. That being said, they've had 1 hard away game in that period at Brighton, which was 4-3. They've had a few games where they've scored the late winner. Like they beat Man United yesterday. Someone said they deserved it. I thought we were the better team. 2 screamers, they win a match. Where with Newcastle, it's felt like in a lot of games it's gone the other way, where they've been the better team and the other side's just scored a good goal. and it's kind of gone against them. So I feel it's there's all these things going on with Newcastle, but I don't know if I don't think changing the manager is the worst idea, because what's he been there now, 4 or 5 years? There's going to come a point where a stourness may set in. On Chelsea, I never thought they'd win the league, but I do think they're better than where their current league position is. I think they've got a better squad than being 10 points off the top after this amount of games. I mean, for me, they are currently tracking to finish 23 to 24 points off the top. And I just don't think being world champions, I don't think having one of the best midfields, having Palmer's, having some of the best fullbacks, having spent over £1 billion on your squad, going into your 4th year of your project, I think that's underperforming. But I think part of that is because some of the players are not handling the pressure and not delivering. I think Maresca's also made some mistakes in some games as well. But I think there needs to be more pressure from the fans, because it just feels it's okay, I'm not worried. It's kind of where we're meant to be. And I don't know if that helps. I think, again, they've had some very good performances this year. And then they've had other games where I've gone, is that the same team? It's like Jekyll and Hyde, if that makes sense. It's a bit of a crazy one for me. But to be 10 points off the top halfway through the season, the potential, if Arsenal just stay as they are and don't get any better, and Chelsea stay as they are, to finish 20 points off the top, I don't know I don't think that's good enough. I really don't.
I don't think it will get that bad. Just because, obviously, I think, to be fair to them, Cole Palmer's only just come back from injury, and albeit he does stay fit for majority of the season, I'd accept that a lot of these games they do pick up points, but at the same time, it is poor, because I think we got to look at it this way. Chelsea fans hate to have the conversation, but there's nothing worse than being stagnant in your progress. You know, having a really strong year like they did last year, where the expectation wasn't too high, but you overachieved and won a Club World Cup. And then you go into this year with the same expectations, you know, because if you win 2 trophies in your first year, your expectation you go and win another one in your second year. You build upon that. But to come into this season, imagine they do just finish 4th, they win nothing. They've taken a step back this year. And this was a season where they've gone out, they signed quite a lot of players. They signed 5 new attackers. They shouldn't be having this problem. So I look at it and say it's poor for Chelsea and poor for Chelsea fans, but I don't think it's going to get as bad as you said with regards to 20 points. But even if they are 10, 15 points off, if they're not in the top 3, then it's been a poor season for them. It's a step back.
No, I mean, I expected to see what Villa are doing from Chelsea this year. And maybe this is part of this is me going, maybe I've overhyped that squad. I watched them the last 6 games of last season, thought they were magnificent. I thought they were great at the Club World Cup. I don't think they bought badly in the summer. I've been very underwhelmed by Gittins. I watched Gittins quite a few times at Dortmund. He just loved to dribble and take players on. He's come to the Premier League and he looks like he doesn't want to try. Garnacho has just been the same at Man United. Again, I thought going into a better environment and into a better squad, I thought he'd had one good game, and then against Newcastle, he was so bad. He was just so bad with his decision-making more than the execution, I felt. But then it's this sort of element of, like, João Pedro, it's 1 week good, not so bad. I know he's out injured now, but the lap, again, so part of it's on me for maybe overhyping how good I thought some of these signings and these players were. But when watching their games, there's just some matches where I look at it and I think how amazing they were against Barcelona. I actually thought they played well in the Arsenal game, even though they drew. They went down to 10 men. But then watching them against Leeds, watching them against Bournemouth, watching them against Atalanta, watching them even against Cardiff. Let's be fair. I know they won 3-1, but Cardiff gave them a good game. I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, is this an appetite from some of these players? Is it that, I think what Nina said on Sky Sports maybe stands out more to me now than ever before. Is there when we play Villa next, when we play City away in a couple of games, are they going to be on it, running hard, running through brick walls, focused? But maybe when they're playing your Cardiffs, your Bournemouths, your Leeds, there's this lackadaisical approach, this lack of mentality in those games. Maybe it isn't maybe people like myself have seen the technical ability of these players, but maybe they're just not applying themselves right in certain games. But I really did think they're not a crap team. They're not a rubbish team. They're not an awful team. But I just thought they'd be better and more consistent this year. I really, really did think they'd go up a level. I thought they'd go up a level.
Do you think it? I know it's a bit weird to say, but with Palmer in the team, they're actually a little bit easier to play against. That's what I find. I think that midfield that they had, where it was Reece James, Casado, and Enzo, was a really industrious midfield. I'd rather Palmer off the right. I know some Chelsea fans prefer him in the 10, but I think when they bring him into that 10, and we've seen it against Newcastle, if the ball doesn't stick, it's very easy to pass through them. And Casado and James are effectively getting overrun. And since he's come back, they only have one win in 5, isn't it? He's on the bench against Chelsea. But he hasn't been, obviously, even before the injury this year, and Chelsea at the start of 2025 were poor. Do you know what I mean? And that coincided with, obviously, the dip in Palmer's form. But I think their midfield, I don't know, I think they have a good players. And even talk about experience there, I just seen someone put in the comments about the players that they have, like Kukurea, Reece James is experienced, Enzo's obviously won a World Cup. They do have experience per se, but I don't know. I just feel like just not. I think there was another comment you said there as well, George, about that was a good comment. The expectations of the past. I think people apply it to this Chelsea team because obviously the amount of Premier Leagues that they won, they've obviously 2 Champions Leagues. But I think you do maybe have to reset your expectations with this new ownership, because this is just it's a new Chelsea that we're seeing. It's not the same one that we know of old, where they would go out and buy the best player, the best striker, the best centre-back, the best midfielder, and that's what they would do.
I also think football teams can forget, the dressing room can forget about elite. I think mentality is underrated in sport. And sometimes people think that's handling the pressure of the shirt, and it partly is. Sometimes it's coming through adversity. Sometimes, though, think about normal day jobs you've had. Did you, or do you remember staff members and colleagues of yours that would have a day where they worked their bollocks off, hit the sales target, or they got the floors cleaned sooner, or whatever it is you do for a job? They got all the pizzas made on time to the best level. And then the next day you're watching them and it's like a different human being's turned up. It's because actually to perform at the highest level in any job, in any walk of life, to perform at optimum level 5 days a week or every single match day is hard, because it takes a lot of energy and a lot of effort to do that. And I think what there is the possibility with Chelsea, after nearly a decade without competing for a league title, do you forget how to do it and how to maintain that sharpness of mind? One of the hardest things to do. It's why when I look at the greatest teams of all time, one of the kind of my measurements I use to judge it is retaining a league title. Because the amount of times you'll see a team win a league title and the next season it's, we've done it. We reached the mountain. There's almost like Liverpool have done it twice now in the Premier League era. They win it magnificently. The next season's nowhere near as good. But I do think if it was studied and spoken about, I wonder if there is a sense of, we did it. And then you let go a little bit. Some people do it with their weight. Some people get in great shape. They hit their target weight and go, I did it. 3 months later, they're fat again because they reached the mountain and they stopped. It wasn't like, well, no, now I want to maintain. Some boxers do it. Some boxers win the world title and they're never as good again. Others go to another level because they haven't. It's what's your dream. Some people, it's I want to maintain a world title for 10 years, or I want to win multiple weights. Some people, Jules Groves was this guy for me. Once he won the world title, I think his motivation waned massively because I've done it. And I think that for me is why I look at this Chelsea dressing room and I wonder if you could have a fly on the wall and you could take maybe Lampard. Maybe that's why Lampard struggled there as a manager, because he's sitting there going, the fuck are these players behaving like this for? It weren't like it when I was there. And I don't, maybe that plays a part in this as well, because some weeks this Chelsea team look as good as any team in Europe. And then the following week, Leeds are better. And I just think to myself, that can't be ability. That's got to be more in the head to me than it is.
I think it's got to be.
Your team's been like many years. You could have some weeks where you're brilliant and other weeks where you're not. And I sit there and think, it can't just be you were good today. It's got to be in the head. It's got to be your application. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I agree because I think Chelsea, that's one thing the fans seem to forget is obviously since they last won the whole league title, they've had a complete change, restructure. Like everybody that was there when Chelsea was a league winning team is gone. Like everybody. Because they don't even have the culture no more. Like this is a completely, to me, it's just a new club. It's a completely new club because the people going in there running Chelsea have no experience winning anything in football because they've come from all different types of backgrounds. Brighton, a lot of them have come for, so they didn't even have the pressure or the expectation to win titles and trophies. That's not what they've come from. So now that we're seeing Chelsea get very calm, just cool with where they're at, and you know the fourth and fifth, they don't have a problem with being here. I don't think the club has a problem with where they're at right now, and you see that with the way they approach the windows, the fact that they'll double down on we're only signed in under 25s because. Like you said, I think earlier, Jamie, this is a business. Chelsea are more focused on being a business than they are on being a title trophy winning club.
It's a sad reality, though, isn't it, for football, where like it's more about money than it is actually like trying to win things, especially for a club the size of Chelsea. You know what I mean? That's just, I think, the Americanization of football now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, look, it's a difficult one. It's just one of those things for me. I look at it and I find it, as a football fan, I find it frustrating. Although I don't want Chelsea winning because they are one of my right. You know, I don't want to see Arsenal. I want to see Man United where Arsenal and City and that are. But if I just remove what I want as a kind of rival, I do look at it and just think, I don't know if it's technical ability because I just see it up one week, down the next. Surely application. I like fighting. You see fighters that are like it, and it's a great fighter, Charles Oliveira, and Masvidal went through this as well, where on their come up they were good, and then they went through these patches where it was like win and then they lose and they'd lose and they'd win, they'd lose, and then both of them hit this streak where they just were unstoppable. But they spoke about how for the first time, maybe it was getting certain people out their lives, changing camps, changing trainers, but they got into this flow of living the right life, eating well, not blowing up between fights, consistently training, having amazing camps. And they for a period, all fighters eventually get stopped, especially in the UFC. Unless you retire at the top, everybody eventually gets too old. But they just went to a new level. And again, this is why when I see football, especially when I see big content creators dismiss mentality, I always think, again, everyone's free to speak, but it's like, oh, you're really misrepresenting it. I listen to all those fighters talk, and none of them go on about, yeah, it's just, my ability just allows me to do this. It's all my work rate. And mentality sometimes is simple things like I go to sleeping. So for a lot of fighters, it's I train in the morning and then I eat and then I sleep and then I train and then I sleep and then I did it. And it's like the mentality is being regimented. And I remember when Derek Chisora started doing some stuff with David Hay, and it was like, turns out the stuff that Derek Chisora was eating during camp, not sleeping enough, still having late nights, still going out. And it was like, well, this is the reason why whenever you get to a certain level, you're losing. So it isn't that you don't have the mentality of wanting to win. It's that you weren't disciplined enough in your day-to-day activities. And I think I just think sometimes I wonder, my fervent belief is this. I don't think the Chelsea camp right now, the Man United camp, the Spurs camp, I don't believe they behave like peak Man City, peak Liverpool, peak Chelsea of old, how they behave. I think there are fundamental differences in the day-to-day applications from the majority of these players, let alone internally. But we'll see. A few comments here. This is from DJ again. He says, tell that Leeds and Bournemouth were poor. Yes, versus Arsenal, 10 men, great performance. Newcastle, though, game, you are not applying context to the run. Well, I have, because I praise those other games.
There's always context when you say something, isn't there? It's like, you're missing context.
I've applied the context. I've said things that are good, things that are bad, things that I don't think are working, things that I do think are working, things I think you've got to improve on, things that I think are brilliant about your team. It's not just context, it's balance, my friend.
Do you know what it is as well, though? You know what you're talking about there about mentality? Like, I always think about, like, what would I be like if I was earning 250 grand a week or something? Do you know what I mean? Like, I would be high rolling. I would be late to training. I'd be such.
Mate.
But yeah. I think it comes from the culture as well, and that's why you obviously need leaders in the team. And if you're going back to, like, maybe, I don't know, you're saying that about like Pep or Klopp or those types of teams, I think they already had leaders in the team that wouldn't let those standards maybe dip. And you kind of want to ask that question. Maybe is it? It's hard to know what the mentality.
Nobody had that in Chelsea. You just have to see it when they was appointing their captains. They appointed Reece James. They're like, oh, who else can we appoint? And it was Enzo Fernandez, who had been at the club for 6-7 months. There was nobody that can instill that mentality.
And you know what's interesting? No, you're right. And I think what's interesting about it is there's a lot of stories that have come out about United players since Fergie's retired, where you go, because Paul Gascoigne made a funny joke about how people always say if Gascoigne went United, he wouldn't have done all the crazy things that he did. And he's like, well, one of their players was shagging grannies, the other one was sleeping with the boss's wife, with his brother's wife, and all these things. But again, there is this thing of, again, I've worked in teams that have done this in very good jobs, where it's like there's still some degenerates in my team that were out drinking every night, but they got their job done. And the thing is this, let's just say a couple of Chelsea players are up late twice a week playing Fortnite. Using an example, modern day example. It's okay to do that if you're delivering every week. Do you get what I'm coming from? Like, you've got a couple of members of staff that go out late 3 or 4 nights a week after work drinking. I actually can't do that and operate at a high level. But if they can operate at a high level whilst doing that, it's fine. It's not fine, though, if you're calling in sick or you're not able to work because you're in the bathroom being sick the whole next day. Yeah. And that's where I think...
Roy Keane said a lot as well about Beckham when he was on the rise, didn't he? He was like, Beckham used to get involved in all these different things, but we didn't care because he was delivering on the pitch. And that's what they were
No, exactly. And no, absolutely right. And I think that's the... And when you actually watch the Beckham documentary on Netflix... The amount of times he was sneaking out when the curfews were on to drive across the country to see Victoria for an hour, then to drive back when he had a game the next day. But again, if he wouldn't have been performing and Fergie found out, he would have been kicked out. So it was, okay, you're cutting a corner or you're doing something against the rules, but you've got to deliver. And I think for me, and this isn't specific to Chelsea, I look at my club massively in this area. I get a gut feeling people are cutting corners. I know there's stories I know of that are not being published, that I've been shown, that something to do with in the last week. The screenshots I've been shown from a United player confirming to a journalist a story who's now denying the story is true. I've seen the screenshots from the player. Got the player's phone number now as well because of the screenshots, but there we go, right? I'm not going to do nothing with it. And I look at it and go, well, see, if you cut that corner, if you make that mistake, you've got to be delivering. Because if you're not delivering, you're in trouble. And that's the nature of the beast. In terms of, we're going to speak Semenyo in a minute, but in terms of delivering, the title race is heating up massively. Arsenal, top of the table for Christmas. And as one of the Arsenal fans told us on Saturday, 17 times out of the last 33, the team that have been top at Christmas have won the league. But there's also a lot of people that are not convinced by Arsenal at the moment. Villa on a good run. City, I think their last 3 or 4 matches, they've won 3-0. They're purring. Talk to me, boys. Talk to me.
George is a big smile.
No, it was just because I heard that stat. And you know, I love how Arsenal, whenever it's for them, they will paint the same stat, but they'll paint it in the opposite direction to make it seem good for them. I looked at a stat this morning where I saw 4 other times where Arsenal had been top at Christmas and fluffed the lead. And fluffed the league. And that was just 4 examples. I know there's been more than 4 in the last, and this is just the last 20 years, by the way, people. It's not like we're going back 50 years. Just the last 20 years, Arsenal have been top at Christmas 4 or 5 times, and they've bottled the title. So for Arsenal fans to try and use that as an example, you should have learned all these other times that it's just stupid. You know, the club at top at Christmas doesn't really mean you're going to win the title. Also, I think you've got to look at it like this, Terry. Good for them to get the 3 points away from home. I praised them for it, and I predicted that they would win. But the performance wasn't convincing again. And that's where you're really, if I was an Arsenal fan, I'd start to worry because all these last couple of games, I'd say going back to, I think it was Sunderland, the 2-2. Ever since that game, Arsenal's performances just haven't been good. They're not seeing out games well. They're not showing good attacking intent. This game, let's be honest, barring the penalty, Arsenal didn't create much. There wasn't many clear-cut opportunities. Another poor performance for Gyökeres. I'm watching Gyökeres. I'm like, what does this guy do? What does he bring to the game? Nothing. He brings nothing to the game for Arsenal. Saka looks like a shadow of himself a few years ago. He's just lacking that directness. They're having to bring on players like Jesus and Madueke to bring that quality to the game. I think Arsenal are in real trouble. And if I was them, I'd really start to worry because Manchester City, as Arsenal slowing down and haven't looked good. Manchester City are looking damn good. They're closing out teams. They're going some good, really strong performances. That West Ham game, they were very comfortable, creating a lot of chances. Haaland's back in hot form. Foden and Cherky, the duo is looking crazy now. The glittery Santa hat's a bit crazy. I'm just going to say, the glittery one is a bit crazy, but
I feel left out now. I don't know if we can find one.
But no, look, I generally just think
earlier, my daughter just come to the door and knocked. I found it. So I was like, put it on.
No, but I think, look, Arsenal, you can praise them for the win, praise them for the character to just see out a result. But at the same time, the performances would be worrying. And for me, I said City would win the title at the start of the season. I think City are just heating up right now, and you're giving them the opportunity. 2 points, they're 2 points gap right now. Arsenal got Bournemouth, Villa, Liverpool coming up in the next couple of weeks. It's not looking good. It's not looking good for them.
Yeah, I would say Arsenal fans, throw in the chat if it's there, but I think they're probably a little bit worried right now. Just because I think City now, they look, obviously when a team goes forward and they're scoring the way City are scoring, they look scary. I think defensively, Arsenal are still the best team in the Premier League. But the whole thing was, when the set piece goals dried up, would they be able to create loads and loads of chances and obviously convert those chances? I think they hit the post twice after 1-0 up, but they could have had a penalty as well given against them for the Saliba challenge. So like it could have been 1-1 as well. Do you know what I mean? It could have went either way. And they got away with that one, which I thought was a stonewall penalty.
Oh, do you know what though? I've seen a second angle. It actually hit Saliba's knee first.
Did it?
Yeah, no, it did. Someone sent it to me. Guy, it hit his knee first, and I was like, "Of course it did." And I watched it. It hit Saliba's knee. I thought from the front angle, it looks like Barry kicks it. It's not Barry's foot kicking the ball. It's Saliba's knee.
Oh, I
thought the same. I was like, a mate of mine. I was like, "Fuck off, bro." And then I watched it. I was like, "Oh, shit."
Sorry, well, I disregard that because this is Arsenal we're talking about. Listen, I think they probably did deserve to beat Everton. Everton they kind of huffed and puffed, but they didn't really create too many chances. And I think, on another day, maybe Arsenal could have had one or two more. But I think right now, going in 2 points ahead, going into Christmas, with the way City, listen, speaking to as a Liverpool fan who's been in these title races with City, they're just relentless. They never give you a minute, and they're just constantly on your back. When you win, you're kind of happy for those small moments, and then they win. And it's constant.
Oh, hang on. Someone just sent me another angle. It definitely didn't hit his fucking knee. It didn't. My mate's done with a camera angle. It's about a yard and a half away from his knee. He does kick his leg. Yeah.
Right.
No. Anyway,
I would be. I'd say Arsenal fans are a little bit worried. I'd say they're a little bit worried, just with obviously, I think as well, because we've obviously talked so much about Arsenal at the start of the season being so imperious and so good, and now that the gap has closed down to 2 points, it's like they've been as good as they have been, and they're only 2 points clear of Man City, who are kind of starting to go up in gears. That would be a little bit of a worry if I was an Arsenal fan. But listen, our City are not as good as they have been in recent years, and Arsenal are better. They have a better squad now, so I still think they're going to be in with a really good chance, but it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be a walk in the park like some people maybe thought at the start of the season.
Yeah, I never thought it was going to be a walk in the park. Even that's why all that talk when they were 6 points clear, it was too early. The idea that Arsenal were not going to have a bad patch is crazy. I know we've just seen Villa win 7 in a row, but they had one game in that period away at what I call that top 10 away teams, that top 10 teams that are just really hard to beat away. And that was Brighton, where they won 4-3. Outside of that, all the games were at home against the tougher sides. Aston Villa are now going to go into a run of games where I think they're away at Chelsea, away at Bournemouth, they've got 3 or 4 really hard away games. They're going to drop some points in them, I think. City, though, in the last 5 games that they've won, remember they got beat by, when they played Newcastle and Villa, those are hard away games, they got beat. They've played Leeds at home, Fulham away, Sunderland at home. The Palace away game was a hard one. They won that, and then they beat West Ham. What City have done brilliantly is in a run of games that they should be winning, they've won them. Where I think Arsenal have dropped some points in some tough away games. That's why when I saw the 6 point gap, yes, it's nice to have, but I never felt it was just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger because Arsenal were also going to drop points away at Chelsea's, Aston Villa's, Sunderland's that are really hard teams. But equally, I look at the games coming up for City, away at Forest, away at Sunderland. They then play Chelsea, then play Brighton, then away at Manchester United. Then they got Wolves. Then they go away to Tottenham and away to Liverpool in back-to-back games. That takes you up to the middle of February. Do I look at that? Look, if they win all those games, they're probably going to become the favourites to win the league title. But when I look at those matches, I see at least 2 or 3 games where I think they'll drop points. Equally, I think Arsenal will drop. I think it's going to be a very close race right into the end of the league campaign. And I think that, so yeah, but I felt that the whole time. I got pushed a few weeks ago. I tell you, you've got to make Arsenal the clear favourites. I was like, no, marginal because they had a point advantage, but it was always going to be close in my opinion. I don't think Villa will maintain their closeness. I think as much as it's not just the stats and the underlying numbers.
Europa League get to them 100%.
Yeah, it's the eye test as well with Villa. I'm not saying what they're winning those 7 games is amazing. I fucking wish I could go on a 7-game winning run. Equally though, I watched quite a few of those games.
Got the win.
It's the way they performed against West Ham.
Individual quality getting them through the game.
I mean, this is the maddest bit. They scraped a 1-0 against Wolves and no one slagged them off. You know, if an Arsenal or a City does that, there's pressure on it. There is a point where that will catch up with them and they'll drop. But even yesterday against United, you know, I'm on another day. I mean, we had 8 players missing because of AFCON and injuries and Bruno coming off. And I didn't feel hard done by. It's not, nothing wrong happened, but it was 2 wonder goals that really were the difference. And at some point, those goals aren't going to fly into the top corner. So I think they'll have a good season, Villa. I think they're doing a brilliant job, but they're not going to maintain pace with City and Arsenal for the rest of the season, in my humble opinion. They won't, but it's a close race and I'm loving it. I'm loving it as a title race. But what I found with this year is that the title race is just making everybody nervous and hide under a rock. I don't get it. It's like, come out and fucking enjoy it, you mugs. Enjoy it.
Have any of you been surprised by City? I seen someone call me out there saying that 3 months ago I said City wouldn't be in a title race. But my kind of thing, to go back to that thing with City, at the start of the season, I was kind of looking at them. I think defensively, obviously Rodri come back from injury, hasn't been able to consistently play. Mateus Nunes, I think Nico O'Reilly's been really good since he's obviously come in, because they did try and maybe fill that gap with Aït-Nouri, but he's out injured now, so Nico O'Reilly's been good. And then Donnarumma as well has helped. But I still think defensively they have issues, but I probably went against City when, knowing with the experience that they have, probably shouldn't have. And then obviously with Haaland up front. But have you been surprised by City at all in terms of like how good they have been?
Nah. Be honest, I'm not saying I predicted this, but like I expected that they would be this good. I think City always tend to start off season slow. We've noticed this under Pep. Like, they have the first 2 months, they never really play great football. It's like they're always hung over from the season before. But once they pick up stride and the players start to find form, you really start to see the difference between them and some of the other Premier League teams. Like you said, at the back, they do have problems. They will concede a lot of goals, but they're so much better than everyone in attack. They can score 4 or 5 most games. Yeah. Like, they have that many chances.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm surprised. I still have my doubts because, look, last 3 games they won 3-0 and they've looked very good. It was only, though, 3 games ago that we're watching them, and this is not me by myself. This is City fans on my shows, LB, Kel, Hamza, all of them. And they're a mixture of people that view football very differently. They were like, we threw away a 2-0 lead against Leeds. Wonder goal wins it. A clearance off the line to stop it going 5-5 against Fulham. And although a lot of those goals were screamers, they weren't being ripped apart, most City fans weren't confident they could win the league. You win 3 games on the bounce 3-0 and it's like, we can do it. But you draw away to Fulham and lose away to Sunderland, and suddenly everyone will go, nah, Arsenal running away with it again. But I just don't believe with both of those narratives. I don't believe Arsenal are going to be overtaken and left behind. I don't think that City dropping some more points in the next few weeks means the league title race is over. I think it's going to be quite close and some up and downs all year. Would I be surprised if Arsenal got 5-6 ahead again? No. Would I be surprised if City went 4 or 5 ahead again and Arsenal pulled it back later in the campaign? No. I think it's going to be really, really close, and I'm enjoying it. I just hope City don't win it. because no self-respecting Man United fan would pick Arsenal winning the league over City. I think you've got to be
out there, Terry.
ill. You've got to be ill.
A few of them want Arsenal to win, I'm sure.
A few of them, real Man United fans, only the fake ones, only the London, all the Cockney Reds. Oh, my best friend's an Arsenal fan, they're a bigger rival. Fuck off. Fuck off.
I just don't want to go to work and hear him slagging you off.
I can't buy into that. Each to their own. Do what you want, but I'll do what I want and say that's fucking bollocks. Do you know what I mean? It's crap. Obviously, big transfer news last night, gentlemen. Of course, Spurs have pulled out of the race now for Semenyo, but it's always going to happen. Arsenal, no, I didn't mean it rudely. It was just, we're looking at all the teams that were there. Yeah, I just thought you would. Man United and City considered front runners. Liverpool might now reactivate their interest after slightly pulling away with the Isak injury. And the Arsenal one is just, it's always the same from everybody. They want him in the summer, not January. But they might change their mind once somebody else agrees personal terms. And I'm sitting there like, oh, why don't you fuck off? And all as a United fan, I just want you all to fuck off. Because I feel a bit like if Arsenal, Liverpool and City will go in for him, I don't see how we beat all three. We might beat one of them because he might be a bench player for Arsenal or for City. But I feel like if all three go in, I feel like United will lose out in the longer term. But how do you see this transfer pattern? I mean, he's definitely going to leave Bournemouth. I think it's a dot on the cards to happen. Where do you see him ending up, George?
I'll be honest, Arsenal. If I have to be honest, I do see him ending up at Arsenal. I think they've made mistakes in the past in the January transfer window, like we know when they signed Trossard, it was a good signing, no doubt about it, but that they were looking at bigger players and that they needed someone stronger than Trossard to help them see out the league. I think in this title race, I'd hope to think that they're not going to be as naive as they have been in the past, and they go out there and sign some big players to help close out the gap. Like they're having some problems in front of goal. Go sign a direct player that can score you goals and bring you that ability in the game. Semenyo's that type. We obviously heard Semenyo's an Arsenal fan. I reckon he'd choose Arsenal over all the other clubs with the position that they're in right now. Plus, with the left wing actually having that open space for someone to take it. Like there's a few players there that are decent, but it's nobody's role. Liverpool and City, they're there or thereabouts. I think City, as much as we're hearing their name, I just don't see City going in and signing a winger. Unless they go and sell, I don't know, Savio. So let's say Spurs go in for Savio, then they might go and sign him just because they need options. But for me, it's just Liverpool or Arsenal I could see him going to. I can't see him going to any other team.
I've seen reports that he was more interested in Liverpool. I don't know how true they were, but maybe that's just my Liverpool timeline. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I think he's definitely going to get more opportunities at Liverpool because of the state that we're in terms of like forwards. Like, I think actually with the Isak injury now, I think it is confirmed that Salah will obviously stay at Liverpool until the end of the season because there's no way they're going to let him go if he's not, if Isak isn't available. So I think Semenyo will, if he came in, he would definitely start near enough every game. I think with Arsenal, it's a funny one. I think the left wing position definitely, but I think the way Arteta is, he would want to rotate a lot. Like you see a little bit with Eze, like Gyökeres will obviously come in and out, I think, now as well. Trossard comes in and out. I think it would be that kind of case with Arsenal as well. I think they have a lot of options going forward. So I don't know if they would maybe bid another 60 million. Do you know what I mean? City, I don't think they'll go City, even if they're in for it, because realistically, are they going to drop Doku, Cherky? Probably not. So like it's kind of, he'll have a fight in his hand to get a starting place at City as well. So maybe, yeah. Hopefully it's Liverpool. I think he's a good player. I think he's someone that would bring a lot of quality to our team. The one thing I think Liverpool actually don't have right now is pace, like proper, real good pace. And he definitely, when he gets the ball in front of him, he can eat up the ground, which is good. But yeah, it'll be an interesting one. It's going to be one of those that it's going to probably rumble on for the first kind of 2 or 3 weeks of the window, I think.
No, listen, I hear where you're both coming from. Arsenal and Liverpool both worry me because I think with the Isak injury...
Oh, sorry, he won't go to United as well. Not just completely put United out of the equation.
Well, I think there's a chance he goes United because I think if there was none, we would have done what Spurs did and already pulled out. I think there's a chance he picks us. We met with him in the summer. I think we're the one team that will give him a starting berth straight away. Maybe Liverpool because of what you're doing, but it does look like Isak's only going to be out for about 2.5 months. So as much as you can say to Semenyo, you'll start. Once Isak's fit, you know he's coming straight back in the team. That's our only real advantage, is that whether it's the wing-back role, which I think people play down, Amram doesn't want his wing-backs being defensive. He wants them to attack. He wants them to do what Ahmad does. And he'd walk into that role. There is a lot of talk we're going to go 4-3-3. He'll walk into the team then. So I think that's our only real pitch in this. But I agree with George. It's Arsenal that I worry about the most here, because he's a gooner. And I probably said it in 3 interviews where he'd love to play as Arsenal. And I know they're playing it down right now. They're doing the whole, we only want him in the summer. But I agree with George. I'm like, if Arsenal go, well, we're not willing to move now, I think them passing up on such a talented player for the sake of 6 months. The only thing where I defend Arsenal is Trossard and Martinelli both nearly left in the summer, but both are having good seasons. And there is this train of thought. Imagine you bring in Semenyo and you remove one of those, because what Ornstein has said is that one of them would have to leave for him to come in. Yeah. Imagine you take out players that are doing well. Semenyo comes in, but doesn't hit the ground, because there is a possibility at all our clubs. Semenyo goes in and takes 6 months to settle. But for Arsenal, to remove a player like Martinelli, who's killing it in the Champions League, Trossard, who's been very important in the Premier League, if Semenyo goes in and doesn't hit the ground running, you're upsetting the apple cart. And similarly, by the way, to City. Like, that's the one thing, again, with City, there's that Cherky right now, I have to tell you, a lot of people were saying it was Xhaka, and I get why with Sunderland overachieving. But for me, Cherky's on his way to being the signing of the season. For the price that he cost, the man's just so fucking good. For 30 million as well, it's crazy. But again, there's that, you're not going to leave either of those two out at the moment for Semenyo to be a starter. But Arsenal worry me in this. The Isak injury's got me concerned. As I said already, I'd love him to come to United. The problem is, could we beat any one of you in the race for him? Yes. Can we beat all 3 of you? I don't know.
The thing is, though, Terry, and I'm pretty sure Arsenal fans might agree with me here, they've been notoriously poor at selling. If you've got 2 players like Trossard and Martinelli, who you was looking at selling in the summer, probably haven't got long-term futures at the club, they've built up some value up until now. You sell them whilst you can. Sometimes you've got to do that. Strike whilst the iron's hot, get rid of one of those players, and you bring in a player of higher quality. The one thing I will say, just to caveat all the points regarding Semenyo, I don't think he suits Arsenal's playing style. Now, I do think that what it will do is, when you look at their team, if they do sign Semenyo, you can do Semenyo, Eze, and Madueke with Gyökeres, and you can change your style, and you have a team that can be more transitional. And then you still have the option of playing Trossard, Odegaard, and Saka, who's a more possessionally based attack. So now you're giving yourself 2 different attacks and 2 different ways to break down teams, which I think would heavily help Arsenal in this title race.
That's a really good point. There's a comment here that says wing back is a role that would downgrade Semenyo. I just disagree. It just tells me you don't. I've spoken about this for weeks. Research what Amorim wants his wing backs to do. They're actually the most important part of his attacks. The problem is we just don't have attacking wing backs other than Ahmad. And we saw it yesterday. He done better in the second half, Dorgu. But in the first half, the amount of times he got the ball, and it's like, when I run at your fullback, can't do it. It's not what he is. You put Semenyo in that position yesterday, he's attacking the whole game. His role is no different to what it is at Bournemouth, other than one, it says left wing, the other says left wing back. But the job is the same. He gets back and defends in a left wing back role at Bournemouth, and he'll defend at Arsenal. He'll definitely defend at City, because every player defends at City. And he ain't fucking Mo Salah. He's defending at Liverpool. He's going to do the same thing. It's just that what we're doing is we're obsessing over what the role says on paper. We really are getting obsessed over the role on paper and not his outright role. But do I think he picks us right now? I put United probably second or third choice maximum in relation to that.
Does the release clause, did I see something that it was like it's only active in the first 10 days of the window?
Yeah, I think it's like 14 days. Yes, first half the month. Even
if Arsenal were like, say he didn't leave and Arsenal said they were going to go in for him in the summer, like that, it doesn't make sense, because they could potentially want more then. Do you know what I mean? You're better off.
Well, in the summer, the release clause drops lower. The issue is, this is what I think is going to go through the player's mind. As much as I think he'd like to play for Arsenal, look at that just happened to Isak. He could go, I'm going to wait for Arsenal. Last game of the season, ruptures his cruciate ligament, out for a year, and then never gets the move. and maybe never play. When you're offered the money that all our clubs, because it actually turns out Spurs have offered the most wages so far to try and get him, which, you know what, fair play to Spurs for trying. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to start doing more of that. Like, you got to offer that money. But the amount of money he'll get paid to play at United, City, Arsenal, Liverpool is double, triple what he'll be getting paid at Bournemouth. The thing is, you turn that down. He's a wealthy man, but I can imagine I don't think he's sitting there on tens of millions of pounds in the bank if you look at the clubs he's played at. So can he afford to turn down a 4 or 5 year deal at these clubs in hope that he stays fit and Arsenal don't change their mind? I don't know if he will. Not at 27. If he was 21, I think is he 26, 27? He's quite old.
Yeah. For 26 in January.
Okay, so a little bit younger than I thought, but yeah, it'll be an interesting one. By the way, viewers, make sure you'll hit the like button if you haven't done so already. If you're watching over on X, I know there's a few thousand of you watching over there. There's a link in the post. Come join us here on YouTube. Come give us a little sub. Come like the post and get involved in the comment section for us as well. This is from earlier. It says, Terry forgets most global United fans are not local to Manchester. I don't forget that, but I don't care either. My belief, you don't have to agree with it, is that when you pick a football team, a rugby team, an NFL team, a Gaelic football team, you adopt their local traditions and rivalries. You must. In my personal opinion, you adopt the culture of a football club. You don't create your own. That for me is sacrilegious. You know, if you start watching opera and you go to opera, I don't care if you're not Italian, you adopt the culture of opera. You go to hip hop concerts and shows, you adapt the culture of hip hop. You don't go there dressed like opera with your little spectacle glasses to watch it, asking everybody to stay quiet. You adapt the culture of that music and background. Certain restaurants you go to and you're quiet and you eat very slowly. Other restaurants you can go to and make a big noise. You adopt the culture of that type of cuisine and restaurant. So for me, no, you don't get to make your own, in my personal opinion. But it's an opinion. I'm not saying it's a fact. A few weeks ago, it was Arsenal haven't even hit form yet. Now it's like they've peaked too early. Which is it? Is what Nate says here.
I don't think any of us said that, did they? Did anyone say they peaked too early? I didn't.
No, I don't
think anyone on the panel did.
Because I think what I had said like a few weeks ago, I said that when you are playing to the level that they were playing, where they'd won like so many games, they were playing really well, like teams weren't getting shots against them. You can't consistently have that throughout the entire season. It's just impossible to keep up that level of form. So inevitably there would be a dip, which you've seen in the last few weeks. But like they can go back up again now. Do you know what I mean? Like, because they're obviously at a level now where they're maybe like not playing to their fullest, or they just haven't, maybe some of the luck is going against them, but they can definitely get back up. But right now it's in a little bit of a slog state in terms of getting through games. I think most Arsenal fans will agree with that. They're not playing to the same they were a few weeks ago against Spurs or Munich.
Yeah, I don't think they've peaked too early. I think they'll get back to, again, I think it's far more likely Arsenal get back to purring and playing well in the coming weeks than it is they stay at the same levels. I actually didn't think they're that bad against Everton away. Everton didn't create a fucking chance. I mean, that for me is, it showed that they just didn't finish a couple of, I mean, Trossard makes it 2-0. I think the game gets a different view of it. The problem with that narrative is Arsenal can't afford to be behind City during the Christmas period. Oh, listen, I'd much rather be top at Christmas than second. Absolutely. I mean, it's always better to be top and have a few point advantage than it is not to. I just think from a psychological point of view, City have got to be the next team to slip up, not Arsenal, to help you. I think it's I think Arsenal even need to be chasing all season and get them late or have a big lead. I feel like if they've got a narrow lead between now and May, I can see a world where City overtake them. But we'll see what happens. Like, everyone's going to have a different view on it, and that's the beauty. You guys are talking to each other in the comments. Terry, when's the next tiering show? Probably in the next international break, I would assume. Look, I want to thank everyone who's tuned into the show this morning. It means a great deal to us that so many of you are here as ever to tune in. We're back at 6 p.m. today for six-sided, which I'm very much looking forward to. This is going to redirect you to the Liverpool show on Hassam's channel, so go and support my brother and the boys from Coppish over there. We had a super chat just come in right at the end here, actually, that says, Merry Christmas, Terry and your family. I am no longer watching football for the rest of the season. I just tune in and listen to you and the shows. Matthew, appreciate the super chat. Merry Christmas to you, and I understand your perspective as a Wolves fan. Until next time, everybody, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we're going to see you all again very, very soon.